This broadcast has been brought to you by Sheetz, superior to Wawa in every way. Hello there, my name's Nick Colson, and welcome to my history show where I talk about nonsense for a couple minutes. However, this week we're going to throw open the chapel doors, sit in a pew, and analyze religion and its relation to folklore and its historical roots. Before we dive in, let me give you my background and perspective on religion. For starters, my mother's parents grew up in Campo Chiaro in the 1930s and 40s, which is located in the northern regions of Italy. This means that my mother's side grew up staunchly Catholic and brought those roots to America after Allied bombs destroyed their home in 1942. On the other hand, my father's side traces its roots back to Sweden, and their heritage lies within the Protestant and Presbyterian Church. Well then, my parents met at Syracuse, decided to marry after college, and when it came to religion, my mom wasn't budging. My dad transitioned to Catholicism and left his old religion behind. Well, there you have it, guys. You have my dad who converted to Catholicism. You have my mom who's still a staunch Catholic. So say it with me. I was raised staunchly Catholic. I went the whole 9 yards, went to Sunday school every Sunday. I also had these weekly meetings after Mass that I attended with the youth groups. I also used to teach Sunday school in my later years in high school. Junior and senior year, I would teach these 4 and 6 year olds the praise and love of Jesus Christ, and I tell you what, it was definitely an experience. But that's the thing, guys, I hated every single minute of it. Every day since day one, it was the same thing, tradition, ritual, all the time. It's deeply rooted in Catholicism, and it's boring, it's utter garbage. And if you were raised that way, maybe some of you will get it, maybe some of you won't, but oh my goodness. Nick, nobody cares about that. Talk about Catholicism with history and folklore in mind, you idiot. Right, guys, so that was just a little bit of background on me. Let's dial it back from 11 and really just talk about some stories about religion, really focusing on Christianity and its various denominations, and kind of see what we can dig up through a historical lens and maybe reanalyze with a folklore perspective. With that in mind, we're going to analyze these religions just as if they're folklore tales and see kind of where the discrepancies start and also where the similarities are, because a lot of the core values like character building, wisdom sharing, and general good Samaritanship is always prevalent. However, just like folklore, some tales are exaggerated to suit the needs of the changing times and people that utilize them. So in the beginning, guys, there's only a few religions. Christianity overall, you got Islam, and then you had your Hinduism and your Buddhism in the Far East. However, the major two powers were Christianity and Islam, and Judaism was kind of in its own little pocket there, but it was mostly by the wayside after Constantine declared Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire. This is where stuff starts going nuts, guys. I mean, all of a sudden, you have Christianity and the gospel with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John proclaiming Jesus to become, the coming guy who saves everyone. And you got Islam, who has this cool new book called the Quran, and they have their guy called Muhammad, who's supposed to do the same thing as Jesus. And, he's followed by his guy Allah, but then we got our guy God, and it's just this whole cluster. And all of a sudden, 9 crusades later, you got millions of people dead all over 2 books that were relied solely on oral traditions and passing along of ideas. And I can't believe that. Can you seriously consider 9 crusades against 2 religious groups just because they had 2 different guys with 2 different names? And their stories and books and traditions are almost all identical when it comes to being good people, being good religious followers. However, change a few names and you got 9 crusades, and that, my friends, is just remarkable. So get this, guys, while the Christians and the Muslims are fighting each other, The Christians are making new religions in the Eastern Orthodox Catholics and the Roman Catholics because, Pope Leo III wanted to make Charlemagne, who was the king of the Franks over in France, modern-day France, the Roman Emperor. And the Byzantine Emperor over in Constantinople was like, that's stupid, I don't like that. So he just branched off his entire nation with a new religion because he didn't want to follow the Pope anymore, creating a whole new slew of enemies and problems and a new hatred between Catholics and Eastern Orthodox, just because two guys were having a power struggle over who was the new emperor. It's mind-blowing. Fast forward a couple of hundred years, guys, and you got King Henry VIII in the 16th century over in England sitting on his throne with Catherine of Aragon, and he says, you know what, I need some sons to make sure my succession is safe. And she says, you know what, King Henry VIII, that sounds fantastic, let's go have at it. They have at it, and get this, guys, no sons. The succession isn't safe to the throne, so King Henry VIII wants a divorce, but pump the brakes, he's a Catholic. So he goes to the Pope. Pope says, dude man, King Henry VIII, sorry, you can't have a divorce, you're still Catholic. King Henry VIII says, you know what, I don't like the sound of that, I want a son, I want a divorce, screw you Pope, I'm going home. He goes home, creates his own darn church called the Church of England, also known as the Anglican Church, divorces Catherine of Aragon right away, was conducting an affair with this woman called Mary Boleyn, marries that woman, tries to have a son with her. Long story short, also doesn't have a son with her. But it's nuts because this is during a time where the Catholic Church is having major problems with itself. People are opposing it. People are seeing that it's corrupt. There's major corruption with the priests and the Pope during this time. People are starting to see that. And now that King Henry VIII just made his own church willy-nilly, that's a huge slap in the face, and people are taking notice to that. People are seeing that maybe the church isn't as truthful as it says to be. In establishing the Church of England, King Henry VIII created a new divide in a group where division did not once occur, thus creating more hate and anguish against the Catholic Church and other heretics. In the following years, Europe became a battleground for the major religious powers of the era. European monarchs with different religious ideals and values vying for power in their nation to lead their people to what they deemed to be the right religion to fight against others who they thought to be heretics. As you can see, the circle continues as Protestants want to continually kill Catholics just because they think a little differently, and Catholics want to kill Protestants because they think a little differently. The cycle goes on. Wow, what does that sound really similar to, but just has a different label? Maybe when it was just a little simpler, a few hundred years earlier, when it was all the Christians fighting all the Muslims and all those crusades, and remember, all those people died? Wow, yeah, that sounds really, really familiar. Keep in mind, guys, that I'm connecting religion here with folklore, and it's almost mind-blowing to think how these possible folklore tales have been over-embellished and over-analyzed and almost been accepted as a little too real to some people who've used it to control and manipulate massive amounts of people, when in essence these books and stories were supposed to teach good character, good morals, and wisdom. Well, some of you might be thinking, well, Nick, let's pump the brakes here. You're oversimplifying things. Religion can't be that simple. It just can't be just tall tales like you keep saying. And you know what, guys? I'm going to tell you my favorite story about one of the youngest religions here on the planet Earth. That's right, guys. I'm talking about Mormonism, and they are hilarious. Like, get a load of this. They believe that their boy Joseph Smith found this golden book. They call him a pioneer, a golden freaking book in the ground in upstate New York from Jesus Christ himself. Like, now, if that isn't a load of garbage, I don't know what is. Like, are you kidding me? That is so what? It's just outlandish, and that's coming from a Catholic who doesn't even care about this stuff anymore. It just is honestly mind-blowing how something so silly can be accepted by 6.5 million Americans. And you say, well, Nick, why do you say that's so silly? Well, how is that any different from Catholicism? Well, exactly right, it isn't. And that's why I'm trying to show you the parallels here, because this is all just complete and utter garbage. Yes, that's right, guys. Who's to say all religions just isn't one big folklore tale? Or who's to say it's not truth? The world may never know. However, guys, my take is that religion is a sham and is used now to control people and basically get your untaxed free church money. And I also believe that many of the truths we rely on depend greatly on our own point of view. And with that, I'm going to shamelessly plug in Star Wars one last time.